Today on our show, we've got Adrian here with us. And you know what we're going to be doing, Adrian? We're going to be fisting.
Are we going to be ironing?
No ironing, just fisting. And that's happening next on the Nerdy Nomicon. Welcome to the Nerdy Nomicon. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Adrian.
Let's not even bury the lead. Let's just jump right into our review of Iron Fist, because that just dropped all over our faces, necks, and collective chests. That happened to us on Friday, Adrian Steve. That happened to us.
It did. I'm a little upset that you don't want to talk about how you're doing and how I'm doing. I'm doing good, by the way. How are you?
Oh, I'm peachy. So back to Iron Fist. No, I'm sorry, man. I'm fucking excited. I'm fucking excited to talk about this show. Marvel Netflix shows have just got me there. I'm sorry about that. How are you? How was your week?
It's been okay. You know, not too bad, not too great. Just kind of down the middle, recovering from South by. I guess all the people at work that are supposed to have meetings were doing South by stuff. And so now it's the week after. We're just getting slammed with like AV requests. So... But, you know, I'm hanging in there. I'm doing all right.
Right on.
Talking with my friends about fisting and ironing.
Hey, that's what you got to do.
The fisting or the ironing?
Well, both this week, fucker. Come on, man.
I guess the talking is what we really have to do.
Exactly. On my end, I've been good as well. I've been working on the scripts for Man Seeking Dragon, getting everything prepped for this week's episode of Couldn't Be Models, which is going to be a heartfelt apology to our boy Dickie, one of our co-hosts on Couldn't Be Models. It's definitely going to be one to check out.
What do you have to apologize for? Or has it not happened yet, and you're apologizing preemptively?
No, it's happened to him. I don't want to get too much into it right now, but I'm not apologizing for anything I did or anything that Hobart did. We're apologizing to him for something that happened in his life. Just to kind of give a little quick preview for this week's Couldn't Be Models, Dickie divulged a couple of episodes ago that he has hemorrhoids, and apparently they were really, really bad. So bad that the doctors actually thought that it was something else. So to try to make him feel better, Hobart and I have come up with 5 things that could be worse than what he's dealing with, just as a little apology to what's going on inside his butt. So if that strikes anybody's fancy, go ahead and check out Couldn't Be Models. I believe the episode's going to end up being called The Horrors of the Ass. So we've got some fun things in there.
So it's an episode all about Dickie's butt, apparently.
No, it's an episode apologizing to Dickie's butt and saying, hey, bitch, it could be worse.
I was going to say, I think that's either the best or the worst butt plug I've ever heard.
Well done. No, I've got some stories about other things that have to do with rectal fury, just to try to make him feel a little bit better about himself, better about his situation. I mean, his hemorrhoids have gone into remission. Is that a way that you word it? I don't really know.
I don't know. I'm not
trying to brag. Sure. I've never had hemorrhoids, so I don't actually know the proper vernacular.
I'm not 100% sure that I know what hemorrhoids is. I just know that people make fun of it, and then it's supposed to be painful and or uncomfortable.
Massive pimples in your butt.
Butt pimples.
Essentially.
See, I thought it was I don't know why I thought this. I thought it had something to do with I guess that's prolapsed or something, where your butt's turning inside out a little bit, like if you're taking too big of poops and I don't know, it's part of your intestine. I don't know what it's called. Apparently, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Your intestine, anal, something or other kind of doesn't go all the way back in. I thought that was hemorrhoids. So clearly, I am not a doctor, and I will never be one.
I may be wrong about the butt pimples. It might be something a little bit more severe than that, but I'm pretty sure that's not it. I don't know what the fuck that was, Adrian, but it's not right on any level. I'm not even just necessarily saying, Adrian, you are incorrect. I'm saying Oh, God, that ain't right.
I mean, because that's something that I would not make fun of someone for.
No, not so much. Not so much.
You don't want, like, you can't make fun of someone who's got, like, a tube sock of intestines hanging from their butt.
No. But it could be worse. I'll give you one preview, and then we'll go on with our actual show. I
like how you're grimacing as you're like, I'll give you one preview. I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah, I'm still grimacing about the tube sock analogy that you just dropped on us. I am too. I'm sorry too. One of the stories I'm going to be telling is about the mooner of Edinburgh Marsh, I believe it is. No. It's Edinburgh, England. The mooner of Romney Marsh. My notes are over at the other desk right now. The mooner of Romney Marsh. And essentially it is a ghost story that takes place in Edinburgh, England, where for a 33-year span, a spirit materialized to essentially just drop trow and moon people.
Interesting.
Now, you may be wondering exactly why I say that that's worse than Dickie's hemorrhoids. You know, it's a ghost and all it does is moon people. Here's the key thing. Depending on your belief system, I'll put it as, for ghosts, spirits, specters, apparitions, sometimes lots of people will have them categorized by different names or will believe different things about ghosts, i.e. they're echoes of what happened right before they died. If that is the case, what the fuck happened to this guy right before he died? Where he's got his pants down around his ankles and he's bent over showing you his ass. What happened to this person? And I have theories. And to find those theories out, tune into Couldn't Be Models next Monday.
I think that's the best plug I've heard for your show. And also, I think you should toss out that people can actually sponsor your butt ghost theories with Patreon.
Can.
Is it right?
That they can. They can indeed. By going to patreon.com/artfulgremlins. You know, I don't think I talk enough about the fact that Artful Gremlins is actually the name of our production company. I mean, Nerdy Nomicon is our show. Couldn't Be Models is our show. I'm writing Man Seeking Dragon right now, which is going to involve people from so many different podcasts, many of which you've heard right here on Nerdy Nomicon. But Artful Gremlins, because I've actually had people go like, "What the fuck is everything Artful Gremlins?" Well, that's the production house. That's what we're called.
And if I'm not mistaken, I've heard that Benedict Cumberbatch is possibly on board to be the dragon in Man Seeking Dragon. Possibly. He's thinking about it.
Wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. He's not. Well, there have been talks and murmurs. There's been nothing about Benedict Cumberbatch coming on. He's not coming on. I can't find him. But, you know, you're just going to have to tune in when the show's ready. He's not on it. At all. Not for lack of wanting. I mean, I would love to. I do know that. I'm writing and producing it.
It's not done yet.
It's not done yet.
Maybe you're going to blow up even larger than you already have, and he's be like, oh man, Robbie's doing something, and there's a dragon involved. I got to get in on that. That's my Benedict Cumberbatch impersonation, by the way.
That was your impersonation? There wasn't even a fucking accent there.
That's how good of an actor he is. He sounds just like me.
So anyway, to sponsor the butt plug ideas, to sponsor us here at Nerdy Nomicon, you know, if you like what we do, if you like what we're talking about, if you want us to stop talking about Dickie's butt on a completely separate show, feel free to join in at patreon.com/artfulgremlins. Throw us $1, throw us $2. If you think that what we're doing is worth any sort of money, feel free to throw it to us. If not, that's totally cool. You can still find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts, Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, for free every single week. All that we ask is rate us and especially give us a review. Those reviews that you put, I know you hear this on all the podcasts you listen to, but it's not a joke. Rating and reviewing us on iTunes really, really, really makes a difference. It helps us climb the charts so that more people can listen to us, more people can enjoy us, and more people can talk to you about what we're talking about. You see, it all comes around. It's like the circle of nerdydom right there.
And we're one step closer to taking down Joe Rogan. It's
Fucking
happening.
A-right. Fucking A-right. I personally love Joe Rogan, but damn it all, man. We got to take him down. One review at a time. We got a long way to go before we touch Joe Rogan. We got a long way to go. I think he's got like over 1,000, I think. We got a long ways to go. But you know what? We can get there with your help. So go ahead, rate us, review us. If you like us, throw us a little something on Patreon. If not, that's cool. We're still going to be here for you for free every single week. So what do you think, Adrian? Are we ready to get back to fisting?
As long as we're getting away from Dickie's butt, I think we're ready to start fisting.
All right, so Iron Fist just happened to us on Friday. I'm going to let you go ahead as far as the review, because then we're going to jump into our actual topic for the night, which I think is probably going to take a decent amount of time.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I've wanted to like it, and I will say I did like it, but I still think there's some glaring issues with the show. Iron Fist, it was like 13 episodes, I think.
Yeah, 13 episodes. Traditional
like
for Marvel TV shows.
I feel like they easily could have chopped that down. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that could be condensed, especially early on.
Okay.
Personally, I did like the dynamics of. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like the whole business being evil thing, I get it, and all the businessmen mostly being evil. Cool. It was nice, kind of a different perspective than just like, I guess Luke Cage, where it's like I'm super strong. It's like, and I have crazy weapons. You know, it was more like I'm an evil, conniving, snake in the grass, behind the scenes, manipulating everything. I don't have special powers. Well, maybe, but the majority of the evil is just like people being evil, which is very believable, especially big corporations being evil. It's a novel idea.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So I'd say I think a lot of my issues or complaints, they can be explained away for the most part, but they're just kind of quirks or they're just strange, and so they might rub me the wrong way and somebody else might not care, could overlook it.
Okay.
So I think one of the biggest ones is just the character of Danny Rand. And he doesn't act in a way that I would expect. And as I said, I think you can try to explain it away, but it just seems inconsistent throughout the series. Like when he first shows up, he's this weird hippie guy, very zen, kind of looks like pothead hippie homeless man. And I guess they were going for that like fresh off the boat monk meets New York kind of thing. But as he progresses through the series, he just loses his cool an awful lot. Like an awful lot. In ways like, you've been in a monastery training to be Zen and doing all this I would assume meditation. He does it a lot in the show, but you're constantly screaming at people. Like you're constantly losing your cool.
That is a good point.
That
is one thing I'm going to echo when I review here.
The situations that he gets thrown into probably warrant a little bit of screaming, but maybe not all of them. I think one of the biggest criticisms that I do have to agree with, I felt like the fight scenes weren't that well done. They didn't seem like they were choreographed particularly well. They didn't seem like they were filmed particularly well. The actors, it seemed like everything seemed slow, and they weren't, like the blows had no power behind them. And granted, they're actors, they're not actually hitting each other. I get that. But you have to like make it look like they're hitting each other. And I think I did a little bit of research, and what I was reading that the actors only had about 3 weeks to prepare, which is just not enough time. That's not enough time to prepare for a movie of fight scenes or anything. So I mean, you can explain it away, but for a show that's supposed to be about like a kung fu monk, I would expect to see a lot better kung fu. And that also leads into another criticism that I kind of agree with. Danny's fighting prowess varies wildly throughout the series. Sometimes he's taking on 5 to 10 dudes wielding double hatchets, and he's not really breaking a sweat, And then sometimes he's fighting with one chick in an abandoned floor of the office building, and he's kind of having a hard time. It's kind of like, so are you a martial arts master or are you not? Like, what's going on? So I think you can sort of explain it away, and you sort of can't. And this series very much seemed like it was the journey of Danny Rand to becoming the Iron Fist. I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, I would say so
to the
as well.
end. So and it's one of the things that's the dialogue can be a little bit annoying sometimes because he's like, "I'm Danny Rand, I'm the Iron Fist, and I have the Iron Fist, and I have Danny Rand." It's like this very repetitive dialogue.
I'm Danny Rand, I'm the Iron Fist.
I have the Iron Fist.
I have the Iron Fist, and I am the Iron Fist.
Yeah, so,
I have it because I am it.
And I do it because I am it, and I have it.
I have it, and I'm the Iron Fist.
So yeah, but as much as he says he's the Iron Fist, he isn't. He has the Iron Fist.
Right.
He's earned it, but he isn't. He isn't that full-on Iron Fist. Superhero yet. He's still learning his way. And actually, people pointed out multiple times, like people in the series were like, "You're the worst Iron Fist ever. How are you the Iron Fist?" So it's very much his journey. But I feel like they stretched out the beginning longer than they should have. I did like the corporate evil people and the tie-in with the hand.
You're talking about Ward and Joy Meacham.
Yeah. Okay. And but I felt like the end was rushed. It didn't have great closure. It was a big cliffhanger, which is kind of, for me, it's kind of a no-no. And the last thing I want to touch on. The last thing I want to touch on as I'm going over the review. I felt like every twist that they had in there was predictable, and I felt stupid for not having seen it coming. If I didn't see it coming beforehand, I felt dumb. Like, oh, of course. Oh, that's the most obvious twist that you could have. So I didn't feel that surprised by anything in a good way. I didn't feel like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That's pleasant. I was like, oh, I didn't think the fight scenes were going to be this crappy in a Shaolin Kung Fu fighting show. So that's kind of my take. As I said, I still like it. I think it's one of the weaker Marvel properties to come out on Netflix. I think I would only put it in front of Luke Cage, because Luke Cage had that very strange shift halfway through. If it was just the first half of Luke Cage and they continued that, I think that would be one of the strongest ones. But because of that just weird shift that they did, it makes it one of the weakest. And this one is only slightly better than that, in my opinion. If better than that, I think it's arguable. They're pretty much on the same level.
Okay. As far as my take on Iron Fist, I loved it. I thought it was a great show. I, like you, think that it's the weaker, among the weakest of the Marvel shows. I would definitely say that Jessica Jones, in my opinion, is the best of the Marvel shows, followed by Daredevil, both Season 1 and Season 2, respectively, followed by Iron Fist, then finally followed by Luke Cage. I thought it was a great show. I thought that overall the acting was superb. I really loved the Meachams. I loved the characterization. I specifically loved Ward Meacham because I respect any character / actor portraying that character that gives me such a venomous response, such a desire to bitch slap, such a desire to annihilate, somebody that legitimately makes me angry, someone that I can really get behind them and say, that is the way a villain should be. That person pisses me off. That's why I sincerely praise Joffrey and Cersei from Game of Thrones, because they give me that feeling as well, where I just want to just strangle them. So I think the acting was spectacular on that. I loved Danny's characterization for the most part. I think that he had that happy little labradoodle thing for the most part. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted out of my Danny Rand. He's supposed to be the sweetest of them. He's supposed to be the most innocent of the Defenders. That's really what Danny Rand / Iron Fist, this incarnation of Iron Fist, is supposed to be. Before I start getting into any more, I just really want to touch on what Iron Fist is supposed to be in the comics. Iron Fist is the champion of one of the 7 principal cities of heaven. Lots of this stuff was touched on. Some of it was changed in this Marvel iteration. However, Iron Fist has always been, and even in this incarnation, was the champion and protector of the city of Kunlun. There are 6 other cities of heaven. One of them, incidentally, referred to as the Kingdom of Spiders. Why anybody would want to go to that kingdom and live there, I do not know. But there's
I know why.
There.
I know why.
Tell me.
Nobody wants to go there and live there. They just don't want spiders in their heaven. So here, have your own heaven.
Spider heaven, bitches. I like it. And knowing some of this information leads into some of the Easter eggs that are in there as well, and also can lead to some disappointment. One of the Easter eggs that I'm referring to is it's either episode 5 or 6. I really don't remember which, but it's when Danny is going through the trial, through the gauntlet, if you will, and he's going up against those 3 separate battles. The second one is against a very attractive girl, clad in black leather. She's got that spiky necklace. She's sticking the pins in his back when he's fighting, kind of poisoning him a little bit. You know the episode I'm talking about?
I know. Yep.
That is supposed to be, as a matter of fact, I believe all 3 of those battles was supposed to be against champions of different cities in heaven. And every, if memory serves, 80 or 85 years, a giant tournament is held where the champions all are pitted against each other. From the Order of the Crane Mother, which Danny is not a member of in the comic books, or at least in the series that I read. He is a member of the Order of Kunlun. The Crane Mother is another order that has another champion themselves. What's really interesting is, and I forget this character's name, there is a character that was in this show too that worships a demon called Li Chin, or Chin Li, one of the other. And there was no mention of this demon, and it was such a cool concept in the comics. And I would have loved to have seen it in there. I realize that sometimes you need to cut things for continuity and sometimes for time, but that was one that I was disappointed in. It was cool to see that champion from the Kingdom of Spiders. I think she was the Bride of Spiders, I believe is what she was referred to as. So it was cool to see her. It was cool to see a lot of these, even though they changed the context and the arc of lots of their introductions into the story. Mm-hmm. But that's primarily what Iron Fist is he's the champion and protector of Kunlun, and his mortal enemy is the Hand. That part is accurate. I thought that they portrayed Danny Rand very well for the most part. He did lose his Zen more than I would have cared to see. That felt a little bit forced, and that felt like they were going for the edge when they didn't need to, when they could have implemented other things, like perhaps bring in the whole demon concept. But that's what we got. And that's what we got is going to be a central theme once we get to the main topic of this as well. I don't think this was a perfect show. As much as I liked it, as much as I enjoyed it, as much as I would recommend this to pretty much anybody, I don't think it was a perfect show. You did touch on one of the central points right there in yours that just did stick with me, and that was the fighting. This is something I'm going to come back to, but the fighting was not as tight as I would expect from a show that's supposed to be about the master of Kung Fu, a living weapon, the best Kung Fu fighter in the world. And we didn't see, A, a whole lot of Kung Fu, period, and B, we didn't see anything all that impressive. I was expecting Into the Badlands, and I got Matrix 2. So...
I mean, I think you could argue that Daredevil had better fight scenes.
You can argue that. You can absolutely argue that. And I'll be going back to that as a big point here in just a minute. Daredevil definitely had better fight scenes. I've heard people say that Jessica Jones did. I don't think so. I really don't. Jessica Jones had better action scenes overall, but not necessarily better fight scenes. And that's not to take anything away from Jessica Jones, because that's not really where I think the strength of that show was. I think that the strength of that show was in the story, the atmosphere, and the acting. Because, holy fuck. But we're not talking Jessica Jones, we're talking Iron Fist. I could talk for years about Jessica Jones. But overall, I think that this was a good show. Just like almost every other Netflix show, I think that they did go a bit long. I don't think you could chop that much more. I mean, I was happy with the pacing. A lot of people said that it had pacing issues. I disagree. I think the pacing was pretty much on point. It was almost where I wanted it to be. Maybe 1 or 2 episodes superfluous, specifically that finale episode. I thought that you could have taken a couple key scenes from there, lengthened episode 12, and you should be relatively fine. You might even be able to scale it back to 11 episodes. And that's been something that I've seen with a lot of these Marvel shows. I think that Daredevil Season 1 was the only one that I thought deserved 13 episodes. Even Jessica Jones, as much as I love it, I think would have been stronger if it was 10. I think that Daredevil Season 2 could have been 11. I think Luke Cage should have been 8. And I think Iron Fist could have done with 11 or 12. Kind of forced them to tighten things up a little bit, because some of those things it almost felt like it was building toward a Season 2 or building toward Defenders in a way that you didn't need, in a way that you easily could have gotten that information or those scenes themselves into Defenders or into Season 2 if, God willing, there is a Season 2, because I'm in the camp, I want a Season 2 of this show. I think you could have easily dropped those scenes into those episodes or those, Season 2 or Defenders, and it would work perfectly. I don't think you needed to base another episode around it. So that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to say that that he's the third best out of the 4 Defenders. I'm still trying to come up with a rating system for this show. I'm going to today use joysticks, and I'm going to give it a very solid 4 joysticks up.
That sounds so dirty.
It does. Adrian, how many joysticks do you want to give Danny?
What is it out of? How many joysticks are there?
I'm going to say 5. Let's go 5 joysticks.
Am I ranking it overall against every show ever, or am I ranking it against just other Marvel properties?
I would say ranking it against itself, your enjoyment level overall, because ranking and comparing it against other IP, especially other Marvel shows, I feel is a disservice to not only this show, but other Marvel shows, because they're all excellent in their own right. Jessica Jones was an excellent noir piece. Luke Cage was an excellent spiritual piece, urban piece, political piece, a piece that needed to be made, a piece that worked so perfectly in the time, in the year, in the moment that we had it. 2016 with the Black Lives Matter movement, with all the police brutality, the shootings and everything, it felt like the time to tell that show. And I think that it dropped at a perfect time too, I'm not trying to take away from it at all, because it was a masterpiece for what it was. But I think that that's why it was as popular as it was. I think that's why Luke Cage broke Netflix when it dropped. It was the soundtrack, it was the timeliness, and it just made people turn and look at it. I would love that show if it dropped 10 years ago or 10 years from now. But I think that it was as good as it was and got as much notoriety as it did because of then. So that being said, all of these things being said, ranking it against themselves feels like a disservice to all of the shows as a whole. So let's just say your overall enjoyment of this piece.
I'd say, and I'm probably a little bit harder on my rankings than other people. I'll say I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I don't think I'd take it above a 3.
That's fair.
I think 3 is about as high as I would go. If they could tighten up the dialogue, they could be a little bit more consistent with the characters. They could throw some twists that I shouldn't have been able to predict, even if I didn't, or even just. Did I say tighten up the fights? I mean, that was the biggest issue. How can you have a kung fu master that can't fight?
And we're about to get into that with our main topic here.
So yeah, they could have brought it a little bit better. I don't know if they were rushed on production or what happened, but yeah, I can't give it more than a 3. That's not to say don't watch it, but I'm saying go in knowing that these are some of the issues. Be prepared for this. You'll be set.
All right, right on. So Adrian, are you ready to get into our main topic tonight?
Oh, I don't know. Am I?
I think you are. And that topic is Iron Fist and the hate that's been surrounding this even before we got it. Because this show was a damned if you did, damned if you didn't show. Right from the word get-go. And I'm going to talk first about the fight scenes. I'm going to talk about the fight choreography because you brought a lot of it up and I really want to get out in front of this and I want to hit this hard. I think that this show had a lot of issues and errors that really kind of plagued it right from the beginning. from the casting to the choreography to the production to the scheduling. And I think that this show was ultimately doomed for a critical attack right from the beginning. And I think that most of it is incredibly unfair. And I think that most of the hate that Finn Jones in particular is getting, and I'm going to be pointing out some people here in just a minute too, I think that a lot of it is honestly relatively deplorable. And it's incredibly unfair. Let's talk a little bit about the fighting first.
Go for it.
I have a big issue with the fighting. And I have lots of ways to wrap everything together and lots of ways that I am really angry that Marvel and Netflix did not incorporate to make this tighter. The number one thing is the training time, because they started training 3 weeks before production. Do you know how much time Finn Jones had to learn his choreography for those fights before they started filming?
3 weeks.
3 weeks is laughable. 15 minutes.
Wow, that is awful.
He learned his choreography 15 minutes before the scenes and went into filming. That came from Finn Jones in a recent interview. He learned it in 15 minutes. He started training for this 3 weeks prior. This is not a man who's a kung fu master. This is a man that should have had months to train. Keanu Reeves had 3 months to go into boot camp and train for John Wick. Okay? The girl that plays, who's Chloe Moretz, thank you. Can never remember her name right off the top of my head. Chloe Moretz had 2 months to train for Hit Girl in Kick-Ass. Okay? Mm-hmm. He had 3 weeks. That is not enough time. That's not enough time at all.
Everyone knows if you're going to be a martial arts master that's been studying for 15 years, you get 3 weeks to get that role in order.
Yeah, apparently. Maybe I'm the jerk. I don't know. But that's an issue that I have. I started watching Into the Badlands last night, the night before we started recording this episode. And yes, a lot of people have been comparing the two. But I'm going to compare this in a way that I have not heard other people comparing them. I've heard a lot of people comparing, well, Into the Badlands does this, so why can't Iron Fist do this? Well, on one hand, I agree. But on the other hand, you cannot go back and blame all of these actors, and you can't even necessarily blame the directors for this. There are certain things you can blame them for, but it's not the fight sequences. The cast for Into the Badlands starts training 6 weeks in a warehouse before the episodes begin filming. Season 1 of Into the Badlands had 6 episodes. So break that down, a week per episode to learn your choreography, essentially a dance. Okay, when you're filming this on television, you're essentially filming a dance recital. And I'm not trying to make it sound less than what it is, but that's essentially what it is. You know, one hand goes here while the other guy goes down. One hand goes here while the other guy goes down. Jump here, jump there. It's essentially a dance recital when you're filming an action sequence like that for television or film. Right. They had what amounts to a week per episode. These guys had 15 minutes to learn their choreography before going into the episode. That is laughable. That is deplorable. And then to have that thrown in Finn Jones's face like that is really, really, really unfair. It's so unfair. They should have given them more time. They should have spent more time on the choreography, more time on learning, more time on structuring these fights, because you could tell that they brought in a lot of extras that knew martial arts, that were good at showmanship martial arts. Mm-hmm. But then you have your primary actors whose primary job is acting, to make us care about these characters, which, at least to me, I cared about Danny Rand. I liked his characterization. I liked him as a person. Yeah, fictitious person, mind you, but I liked him. He did his job to me. Here's one thing that really pissed me off. They forced that red suit in Daredevil down our throats. Now, granted, I don't have a huge problem with it. I think it looks pretty badass in Netflix, but I still, to this day, prefer the black mask that Daredevil was wearing. Still, no matter what way you look at it, it is a mask. And you even brought up how the fight sequences in Daredevil looked a lot more convincing and a lot better and a lot more compelling than they did in Iron Fist. What's the primary difference between the two?
They probably got somebody behind the mask that isn't the actor, so they can actually do the fights.
That's exactly right. Do you really think for 1 second that Charlie Cox is flipping around in the air doing that? My heart tells me yes. My brain tells me ain't no fucking way, dude. Where the hell was Iron Fist's mask? Yes, I realize his costume's a little hokey looking. But you know what? The red suit isn't exactly the marquee of awesome. It's cool looking right now, but it's not exactly the marquee. They even paid an homage to Luke Cage's tiara in the comic books in that one episode in Luke Cage when he comes out of the vat after getting his powers. They even paid an homage to that. We didn't see Iron Fist in a mask once. That actually is inexcusable to me because you could have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying it would have made sense too because he's running around kicking ass after being revealed as the new. He's on the cover of Forbes and he's running around the next day kicking people's butts. It's like, hey, you know what? People kind of know who you are now. You're a billionaire. Maybe you should be wearing a mask so people don't know that it's you kicking their ass.
Exactly. You can still put the logo of the dragon on your costume like they do in the comics as well. That way the hand sees it, they shit their pants, and everything's all good. You may not even need to throw your punches all that much. But then you can put someone behind that mask that can do the flippies, can do actual kung fu. You don't have to throw it all on Finn. You know, that is a problem that I have. That's a problem that I have with the directing. Because the director could have made that snap decision and thrown that right down. That's the problem that I have with the production team. Because they should have thought ahead of that. I want to know where their heads were at with things like this. And it sounds like I'm ripping it apart, and I'm not. But I'm trying to point out some of these glaring problems that they just plainly overlooked, because this is where a lot of criticism is coming.
Yeah, and unfairly it's coming down on the actors, as you're pointing out. And it's like, whose fault is it that they only had this timeline? Like, why couldn't they push it back?
Precisely. And that's really where the whole concept of us doing this as a primary topic is coming from too, is that Finn Jones himself has been called out by a lot of people. Finn Jones himself has been having to get in front of a lot of the shitstorm that's come down about the show, even before it actually dropped, because the embargo was broken and people were talking about how bad it was even before it dropped on Netflix. I was expecting this to be a total shit show, and for me to sit here and just be shitting all over it and pissing in Iron Fist's mouth. I'm sorry, but I liked it. For what it was, I thought it was fucking delightful. I really enjoyed this show. There are problems, and we're talking about them right now and how they could have made them better, but there's no reason that the actors as a whole, Finn and the girl that plays Colleen Wing, both of them, mind you, Game of Thrones alums, there's no reason that they should be carrying the brunt of this.
I totally agree. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. See, I thought we didn't go into total details about exactly what you were going to be outraged about, but I thought you were going to be talking about how, and I think this was when it was first announced, people were arguing, complaining about, another white actor stealing, somebody else's race role. Sorry, dog barking. But that's not what you're talking about. You're not talking about like a white actor getting a role originally designed for someone else.
I actually am going to go into that. That's gonna
you are?
That's going to be the next portion here. Because
go for it.
That's not what happened.
Exactly.
That is not what happened. So to everybody that's been out there, and I'm going to talk about the issue and the outrage first. I'll give my opinion, and then I'm sorry, but I'm going to chastise the people that have been shouting out and getting outraged and becoming social justice warriors about it. The issue is, lots of people were talking about how Danny Rand should be portrayed as an Asian person because he's supposed to be the master of Kung Fu. Here's the issue with that. Danny Rand in the comic books, ever since the inception of Iron Fist, has always been a white guy, usually blonde, almost always blonde, from New York, flies off, always takes place in the Himalayas, multiple ways that the plane could go down. Usually it's Harold Meacham ends up killing his parents when they're out there and everything after the plane crashes. Then he goes to Kunlun, learns his stuff, and comes back. Danny Rand in the comics is always a white guy. So the fact that everybody's over there saying, another white actor stealing roles and everything is complete and utter bullshit, because the character was always white. Now, I do not have a problem, for the most part, in most cases, throwing a different race or nationality or something like that behind a different character to give it a new look. Okay? Like, for instance, Will Smith, famous black man, played Deadshot in Suicide Squad last year. To me, the characterization wasn't exactly Deadshot. I thought he played better as Captain Boomerang. That being said, I liked him. I thought he was good. I did not have a problem with Deadshot being like that whatsoever. Valkyrie in the upcoming Thor movie. Valkyrie in the comic books is a white character. Valkyrie will be played by a black woman. I have zero issue with that whatsoever. The issue that I have is people getting all up in arms about a character that was written white that they are making white in an adaptation. And screaming, oh, well, that's racist. How the fuck is that racist? Now, my opinion on the matter, I think that it could have been cool if, and this is my own plot that I'm coming up with off the top of my head, but if Danny Rand was an Asian child that was adopted by the Rand family, taken from an orphanage or something like that, or maybe they couldn't have children, so they adopted him as a baby. They raised him up, and then everything happened right from there. I think that would be really interesting as growing up, the son of two rich white parents. He is an Asian adopted child, crashes in the Himalayas, learns Kung Fu, so maybe, learns a predominantly stereotypically Asian cultural stereotype, like martial arts or something like that, comes back and is the master of Kung Fu, almost like bringing back his type of heritage and then ultimately being the best in the world at it. I think that would be cool. I think that you could explore a lot of things with that. I personally think that Asian actors and actresses are far, far underrepresented in film and media. I think that there are a barrage of awesome, attractive, talented Asian actors and actresses. John Cho shouldn't be the only one at fucking work, okay? Mm-hmm. No, and don't get me wrong, please keep John Cho working because I absolutely love John Cho. I'm still pissed off that we don't have Selfie. I love John Cho. The problem that I have with that is it seems like we're living in a climate and a culture right now that even me talking about this and saying, well, this is what could happen and this is how you could explore it or this is some of the themes that you could have there can immediately be spun and misconstrued as, oh, well, here's another Asian stereotype. All they know how to do is math and martial arts. So, of course, they're going to make the Asian guy good at martial arts. But that's the whole central theme of the character. This seems to be a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're 100% on.
The character was written this way. I do think, and I kind of, in a way, not completely, but in a way, wish that they had explored that a little bit more, because I think that with this Netflix Marvel lineup, they've been able to break the mold in so many different ways. The different types of characterizations that you can do, making Purple Man not actually purple, making him, look like an actual human being, played by David Tennant. Phenomenal villain. Bringing in, Jessica Jones has a plot line in that show that involves a dead fetus getting injected into somebody's veins. Where the fuck else can you see that? And that show was nominated for an award. Where the fuck else are you going to see that?
Best fetus injection.
Right? So, I mean, the Marvel shows on Netflix are breaking rules and breaking taboos all over the place. They really had me immediately since Wilson Fisk decapitated a guy with a car door. That's when I knew that this is not the Ben Affleck Daredevil. This is something fucking awesome. I think that they could have definitely done something with that. Brought in an Asian influence in Danny Rand, told a story like that, because I also don't think that adopted kids, where adoption isn't the central thesis of the story, is represented enough either. The only time you really see a lot, and they're out there, but the only time that you really see adoption stories predominantly played is when the adoption itself is a central part of the story. But to have that be a reason that he could be Asian and to have an Asian actor represented in that role, I personally think could have been awesome. Well, here's the thing. That's not what happened. That's not what we got. Stop bitching about it. Stop moaning about it. There's nothing racist about that. That is the character that was written by Marvel. They decided to go traditional with their portrayal of Danny. I don't see the problem. I personally don't have an issue with that. It's not taking a role that was designed for somebody else. It was giving the role to Finn Jones. If anything, you should be pissed off that he's British. You know, buy America. Isn't that the whole Trump logo and everything like that? America first, America first. You should be pissed off he's fucking British. Okay? That's where I'm going to drop that. And as far as other Asians on that show, Colleen Wing was fucking awesome. And I've also heard hate about her, seeing as though, oh, well, she's, you know, an Asian girl, and of course she's got to be good at Kung Fu. Again, have you not read the source material? Because Colleen Wing is an Asian girl that happens to be good at martial arts and wields a katana. So, really? I think that a lot of people are getting pissed off and getting outraged because they want to, because they think that it's cool, that it's the norm right now. Social justice warriors and everything, not really stopping to even so much as watch the show. I honestly have to question how many people are bitching and moaning online about the casting, about this show, have even actually watched the show, let alone read the source material. And I'm the first one to admit, I was not excited about Iron Fist until probably halfway through the Marvel series. I thought that the show sounded hokey. I didn't know much about him. I'm like, okay, well, you got these grounded characters right here, but what the hell are you going to do? A magical monk comes back and he's got the power to light up his hand and, you know, knock through doors and everything like that. I thought it sounded stupid. Then I started to get more interested in what they could do with it. Then I saw Doctor Strange, and I realized how mysticism and magic could be approached with Marvel, even in the cinematic universe.
Right.
And again, Netflix ups the game, so I had certain expectations going in. I was let down in some aspects, but overall, I think that they really did a good job with it. And I think it's really unfair that it didn't even have a good chance out the gate. And the race thing was right front and center in a lot of the hate leading up to this. And I think that that might have colored people going into it, or at least colored some of the critics going into it. I'm not saying that it did. I'm not even remotely going to insinuate that. I'm saying it might have, because that's a problem that I had. The criticism just occurred to me right here, and I just need to throw this out there. This is a show called Iron Fist. I kind of would have liked him to see his Iron Fist fisting things more, let alone two Iron Fists, like A, he has in the comics, and B, the other Iron Fist in that little movie clip that the guy showed him halfway through the show portrayed him. You're seeing an old Iron Fist, he's got two lit up hands, and he's just going to town on some motherfuckers. Danny has one Iron Fist that he barely can work, and he's supposed to be the living weapon. Okay.
Well, but he's the worst one they've ever seen. You know, that's part of the thing. He's still growing and learning.
True. I wanted to see him fist some more shit.
Oh,
man.
I agree. And you know what? Here's another thing that kind of struck me. Whenever he did use it, it seemed in just really strange ways. Like, there's one where he's like busting out of some place and he punches a door or something.
Oh,
and
yeah, when he's the hole he makes, mental institution.
The hole that it makes is just so perfectly door-like. You know, I mean, just like, give me some rubble, give me something. Like it looks like you just cut out the brickwork or whatever for this to just fall apart or fly away or whatever.
Right.
Like that. Come on, it's gonna leave a perfect. That's about as realistic as him punching through a wall, like a frickin' plaster wall, and leaving a perfect cutout of himself as he does it. You know, like
right. I don't know.
Still a great show, though. Still great.
It is. And again, you know, this is. I feel right now a lot like my review of Batman v Superman on Polygon Table. I spent probably about an hour and a half reviewing that movie. In a movie that was actually 2.5 hours, I spent almost half of that movie reviewing the movie, and it sounded like I was ripping it apart. And in certain aspects, I was, and just like in certain aspects, yeah, I'm kind of ripping Iron Fist apart too, because it was not a perfect show. There were ways to easily fix the problems that I have, and that's what frustrated me. You could easily tighten up the fighting by giving an extra 2 weeks for choreography, 2 weeks, and giving him a fucking mask, just like you were able to give Daredevil. You could easily do that. You could work it into the show with minimal effort, and you could put a stuntman behind there to make the fight scenes look better. Okay? Yeah. So, yes, to a degree, I am ripping it apart, but don't think for a second that I hated this movie or this show at all, because I really, really liked it. I gave it 4 joysticks, which is our level of, that's our version of rating for this week. It'll probably be different next week. I have no idea. But I just found a lot of things to be unfair about this, and that's really what I wanted to talk about with this topic. Screen Junkies News actually has had several different videos going on about this. The most recent one, and I watched it today, is titled Finn Jones Reveals His Iron Fist Training Regimen. By watching that, you can even see a lot of the things that I was talking about as far as the time frames that he's had. And there's a lot of issues that I've had with this. And again, they attack Finn Jones personally on this, and they seem to be putting a lot of blame down on him. And I really like Screen Junkies for the most part. I think that it's a really good group. I agree with a lot of the things that they say. I think that they've got a lot of interesting insight on different IP that I truly care about, specifically Sasha Pearl Raver. But in this particular video, she pissed me off more than I can even imagine, or more than you can even imagine, specifically because she keeps comparing Finn Jones in Iron Fist to Keanu Reeves in John Wick. Ever since John Wick came out, and it is a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit, it's good.
So good.
Oh my God, I loved this movie. But ever since this movie has come out, everybody is sucking Keanu Reeves' dick. Everyone is. Trying to compare everybody in any sort of action genre to him, and incidentally into the Badlands as well. But I've touched on that. I've talked about that. Scheduling could have helped that. Masks could have helped that. Here's the thing. She made a comment saying that if Keanu Reeves didn't think that he was up for doing this choreography or up for doing this part, he just simply wouldn't have taken the role. That is complete and utter bullshit. That is the stupidest thing I have ever fucking heard. And that really pissed me off when she said that. Because Dracula exists. Okay? Mm-hmm. Because so many of his movies exist. Because fucking Constantine exists.
Yeah.
Because The Matrix 2 and 3 exist. That is the stupidest fucking thing I have ever heard. Finn Jones's acting in Iron Fist is better than most of Keanu Reeves' entire career. Maybe his physical prowess, his kung fu and whatnot, was not the best. But again, I don't know about you, but I cannot blame him for that. Having 15 minutes to learn the choreography, he's not a trained martial artist. He's not Jet Li. He's not Jackie Chan. They brought The Rock into it as well. He does not have the genetics that is the same as The Rock, let alone the background and training as The Rock.
Yep.
Okay? Comparing them is the most unfair, stupidest, closed-mindedest thing that I have ever heard. And it almost seems that it's pandering just for more downloads because hating on this show is the cool thing right now. Well, this show has problems in my opinion, but I am not going to sit here and hate on it. I think that they did fine.
I agree. Fine, maybe, not fantastic.
No,
fine.
Not fantastic. I think the acting was, for the most part, good. I think that, just like you said, I think Danny Rand loses his cool, loses his zen a bit much, especially for 15 years training in Kunlun. I realize he's only been the Iron Fist recently. But I would like to think that his zen training started the moment he walked through the gates of Kunlun. Maybe? Yeah? A little bit? So, I don't know. But I feel like I've been going on kind of an angry, bile-filled tirade about the hate surrounding this show, basically hating on the haters of this show. And you don't have to like this show. It's totally fine. I'm never going to tell people, oh, you have to like this show, you piece of shit. I'm never going to tell them that. If you've watched the show and it's not for you, that's fucking fine. Seriously. There are plenty of shows that everybody loves that I can't stand. I hated Glee. I couldn't stand Glee. Didn't care for it. That show was probably the number one show for 2-3 years? I wasn't in the camp. I wasn't a part of the crowd. And there are a lot of other shows. Everybody loves It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I think it's fine. I think it's all right. It's not the best thing in the world. I still don't like Family Guy.
Them's fighting words on Sunny.
I brought that one up specifically because I know how much you love it. And again, I don't hate that show. I think it's fine. I wouldn't be sad if it got canceled tomorrow. I wouldn't be sad if there was another 10 seasons of it. I would probably watch the further 10 seasons. Are you slapping your fist because you're gearing up to Iron Fist me?
Yes, I am. No, I think this is the last season for Sunny, by the way. It just seems like the way that it's going, I think this is the last one.
I thought that they signed for another 3 years.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like they're trying to wrap things up. So, I don't know. I could be wrong.
I could have sworn that I read somewhere that that they signed for another 3 years, but I have been wrong before.
I mean, they're psyching you out. Psych out. Psych.
Possible.
I feel like the best years of Sunny are probably past them, though. And I don't know if you've seen it yet. Caitlin Olsen's new show, The Mick, on Fox,
The Mick
is hilarious.
I love
It's basically
The Mick.
D in a new show.
Yes. And you know what? I like that mostly because I can deal with them in solos. I cannot deal with them all together, and I can't deal with Dennis at all.
Yeah, really.
I cannot deal with Dennis at all.
Isn't he on
I just
Fargo?
can't do it.
Do you watch Fargo? I feel like he had a stint somewhere else.
I've seen the movie. I've never seen the show.
Okay. But we do digress.
Yes, we digress. Basically, me wrapping up with my fucking monologue that I've been going on for about a half hour. I'm not saying that you have to love this show. Everybody's got their own personal preference. What I am saying is that this show appeared to be doomed before it even got onto our televisions. And I think that that's unfortunate. I think that it's unfair the way that some people have been singled out. Specifically Finn Jones. I keep bringing him up because that's where a lot of this stuff has been centered around. And yes, he said some stupid shit. Okay? He did give an interview where he did say that he thinks that people don't like Iron Fist because he's a rich guy and Donald Trump has kind of ruined that for a lot of people. I honestly understand what he's trying to say. I think that he said it in the stupidest way possible. I think that that was definitely an open mouth insert foot. I think that he pulled a Trumpism by doing that, but I understand what he's trying to say. Because of the whole political climate in America, there are certain things that people are fed up with, that people are pissed off about. People are pissed off at Wall Street. People are pissed off at people like Pruitt trying to dismantle the EPA. People are pissed off at Donald Trump. I mean, his approval ratings are dropping on a daily basis. And I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just trying to set the scene for what he's actually saying. Movies like Boiler Room, movies like fucking Wolf on Wall Street, those movies, Great Gatsby to a degree, those movies, I don't think would even so much as get greenlit right now, let alone bring in the numbers that they brought in. Boiler Room became a cult classic pretty much overnight. You know, you can debate that or not, but the movie is a cult classic, especially in certain demographics, namely people that work in collections. But I don't think any of these movies are getting greenlit in the world that we have right here, right now. Next year, maybe. Right now, not so much. So I understand what he's saying. I think that him saying it, period, let alone wording it the way he did, was fucking idiotic. And that's just asking for trouble. That's the opposite side of everything that I've been talking about. But I get what he was trying to say. Just like I get a lot of the criticisms with Iron Fist, I just don't share the passionate venom that these people are spouting. So that's my wrap up on my opinions about the hate surrounding Iron Fist before it even came out here.
I had a feeling it was going to be a long one. I remember when you texted me what the topic was. I was like, I think you're going to be on this for a while. You seem very passionate.
Adrian, was there anything that I didn't kick at, poke at, give a middle finger to, Iron Fist right in the fucking turkey neck that you wanted to touch on?
Not really. I think the main thing that kind of touches, that gets on my nerves and kind of annoys me, and you know, you can point out if I'm wrong or if you feel the same way or if it doesn't even register with you. But just as you were saying, people were getting upset that they thought that Iron Fist was supposed to be like a Chinese or of an Asian kind of background, and that the actor that they chose wasn't. You know, it's like you're taking away characters from, you know, minority actors, and that's not the right thing to do. But I don't know if they're mad just because of it's a minority actor, or if they're just, well, you're not being true to the source material, because they always seem to hide behind that source material thing. But then when it's time to get, the gunslinger for the Dark Tower, I don't hear anybody complaining that they got Idris Elba, and I'm sure he's going to do a great job. I'm not saying they made the wrong pick, but it's like all those voices that are so upset that they got a white guy for Danny Rand, who's supposed to be white. They're nowhere to be found when you got Idris Elba playing somebody who's basically supposed to be Clint Eastwood.
Right. And you've got Matthew McConaughey playing the Man in Black.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting as well. Oh my God, the Dark Tower. I cannot wait for this.
I'm nervous.
That's a good point.
I'm nervous. So that's just something that pops into my head. It's just like they seem to talk out of both sides of their mouth. They want to be offended when it's the appropriate time to be offended, or when it's hip to be offended.
Social justice warriors. Yeah,
but they're not there. They're not fighting for the source material. They're fighting to be seen fighting that fight. And when it's when it flips the other direction, they're off doing something else.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, there is a fuck ton of whitewashing that goes on in Hollywood, okay?
Definitely.
I am not saying that it does not happen. And that's an hour and 3 minutes into the episode is probably not the place to drop that knowledge down. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm saying it happens all the fucking time. What I am saying is that it seems, at least in the fanboy realm of like Marvel and comic books and stuff like that, and these adaptations, that it does not happen nearly as often. Okay, I mean, even you can make an argument for Olivia Munn, but Olivia Munn is half Chinese, and Psylocke is supposed to be of Asian descent. I don't really remember what nationality, but I think that they got Psylocke right, at least in aesthetics. I wish they had more Psylocke.
She looked like Psylocke.
I agree, and I wish we had more Psylocke in Apocalypse, but Apocalypse has enough of its own problems. We'll save that for another time. Gods of Egypt. That is a good example. There is no way in hell that the gods of Egypt should be starring Jaime Lannister. Okay? There is no fucking way that should make sense at all. I think he plays Osiris or Ra or Set. I don't fucking know. But there is no way in hell that should happen. That is whitewashing at its most obvious. So I'm not saying that shit like that does not happen. What I am saying is that when you want to claim it, know what you're talking about. I'm sorry to drop it down again, but know your source material. I mean, praise it when they break it. Stop attacking it for the sake of attacking it. So
we got a culture of people getting offended over nothing.
Exactly. And I can guarantee that we're going to get some angry emails and some hate mail over this episode as well, just because, again, people like to get pissed off about getting pissed off about things. And you can agree with me or disagree with me. And frankly, I think it would have been awesome if they had an Asian Danny. If they, even if they didn't go the adoption route, which I think would have been a really cool, really interesting, really poignant way to bring in a whole different facet of issues and complexity into the Danny Rand character. Make his puppy dogness even more compelling. Make that a little bit deeper. I think that there's so much that they could have done with that, and I wish that they would have done that. I wish they would have gone with my idea that nobody asked me for, especially during the writing process 2 years ago. But they didn't. This is what we got, and as far as what we got, I thought it was quite good. But
I agree. And one thing we didn't touch on that I want to just throw out there.
Yeah, of course.
Davos, fantastic comic relief.
Oh my God.
So good. So good. And not in that like bumbling, physical comic relief. Just that kind of like out of touch, gonna say whatever he thinks kind of comic relief. It was fantastic.
Absolutely. I loved Davos. I thought that he was definitely a bright, shining light in the second half of that season.
I agree.
So, all right, Adrian, anything more you want to touch on before we close the book this week?
I don't think so. I'm going to wish you a happy week ahead. I hope you have a great week, and I'm going to ask you how it went next week. I'm going to make sure I don't forget about that.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the little dig at the beginning of the episode. I was so excited to talk about Iron Fist, Adrian. I thought that this was so much fun.
It was fun. It was fun.
So, guys, let us know what you think. Let us know if you liked Iron Fist, if you hated Iron Fist. Let us know if you think that we're pieces of shit for defending Finn Jones and basically condemning the choreography. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you feel. Let us know if you like Star Trek and Game of Thrones. Whatever you want to do. Email us, artfulgremlin, without the S, at gmail.com. You can also tweet at us at artfulgremlins. You can tweet at me at Robbie the Saber, spelled with an R-E. You can find Adrian by
walking around Austin. Just walk around, you'll find me.
You can find Adrian on social media and getting messages to him by using the hashtag #FlowersForAdrian, which we're going to bring back until you get on some social media for our listeners here.
All my Twitter stuff is gone. It's all taken. I don't understand how I am not more original than everyone else on the planet.
God
how
damn
is that
it,
not
Adrian
a thing?
Steve. You will come up with something fun, and our audience will love you for it.
I bet you just Adrian Steve is probably gone. And if it isn't, I don't want to be that. I want to be something cool. Adrian Steve, not cool.
Adrian the Iron Fister.
Ooh, I feel like that wouldn't... I don't think they would let that one through.
No, they probably let it through, but I'm pretty sure the friends and followers that you'd be getting are not the ones you want.
Yeah.
With a name like that. So that's going to be our show, guys. Tune in next week for a completely different topic of completely unnatural proportions. Whatever the hell that was supposed to mean. But until then, I've been Robbie.
And I'm Adrian.
Let's close the book on this week.